frightening films in our Ontario. Cannibal Girls, 1973. A lovely young couple from Toronto go to a bed and breakfast in a small town to spend the night. The bed is for them, but their flesh is for breakfast. Because the B&B owners are cannibals. Town scenes were shot in Beaverton, Ontario, and home interior scenes were shot in Aurora, Ontario, with some additional scenes shot in and around Oak Ridges, Ontario. So I've been to Beaverton once or twice, and let me tell you something. The Beaver River Museum and the White Creek Flower Farm are indeed places of tourist attraction. Yeah. Anja Martin from Black Christmas 1974 and My Big Fat Greek Wedding fame plays Gloria. Eugene Levy from American Pie franchise fame and Schitt's Creek television show fame plays Clifford. And a big shout out to Ron Ulrich, Randall Carpenter, Bonnie Nelson, Mira King for the Cannibal Stuff, and Alan Gordon, Alan Price, and Earl Pomerantz for being the dumbass horn dogs, more like hot dogs. Their effort in this film for being the dumbass guys that got eaten. Alright. And let's not forget Mae Jarvis for her fine rendition of Old Lady Tells Spooky Story, directed by Ivan Reitman of Meatballs, Stripes, Ghostbusters, Twins, Kindergarten Cop, and the Draft Day movie fame. And he kind of co-wrote this film as well, due to all the improv scenes and dialogue that was developed by the cast on the spot. But don't worry, old Bobby Sandler wrote the basic screenplay to this story. Big props to you, Bobby Sandler. The movie was shot in 1971 and 1972 for a 1973 release. Music is straight up Hitchcockian movie horn, violin, cello-ish, eerie at times, jump scare, piano, sort of racket kind of thing, which is very 70s, which is actually kind of very good in this flick. It all works out. Pace and tone on this film is on par for the 1970s grindhouse horror, which was filmed in the 1970s, and grindhouse horror was very popular at the time, with some nice cuts and editing and cool looking overall quality to this film, which is an indie film with some really cool looking cannibal, devil worship, evil trance sort of voodoo thing going on in the scenes. For all of the grindhouse movie aficionados of the 1970s, you must watch this film. Spoiler time. Time to spoil this movie that was made in 1973. Spoilers, 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 spoilers. I know it's gonna be spoilers. You've been warned. 1973 Cannibal Girls is a film by Ivan Reitman, who did a bunch of cool movies back in the day, as well as Cannibal Girls. Yes, that's right. Out of all the cool movies he did in the 80s and early 90s, in the 70s he did cool movies as well. And Cannibal Girls, 1973, is one of those cool movies. This is 1970s grindhouse horror at its best, because it's not only got that 1973 low budget film sort of panache going on with it, but it's also an indie horror flick made in Canada. So you have cold weather, really kind of cheesy acting going on. There is a handful of the cast, which is not including Andrea Martin and Eugene Levy, that are not the greatest of actors and actresses, but man, are they committed to these roles. And you see it, you feel it, and it pulls off in this type of movie. If you were to have a serious dramatic movie, none of this would work. If you were to try to do some sort of serious horror movie like Hereditary, none of this would work. If you tried to do some sort of Bela Lugosi, Dracula's Castle sort of movie, none of this would work. It's cheesy, goofy, stupid, and there's a lot of scenes that the entire cast improv that just work so well in this movie. First things first, as I was doing my really choppy, very weak research for this film, I was surprised to see the Scarborough Bluffs. Yeah, right in the beginning of the movie, right at the very start. The research had told me that there was a filming locations in Aurora, and Beaverton, and Oak Ridges, all wonderful, great spots I've been to. But man, when that opening scene opened up and I saw the bluffs, I was like, yeah, that's awesome. Love those bluffs. Love those Scarborough Bluffs. Moving on, Andrea Martin and Eugene Levy are absolutely wonderful in this film. They are so funny. They are so delightful. They are absolutely awesome in this film. I can't think of any other movie star from that era who was available or who could be available for Ivan Reitman to do this. You know, you could have took any other actor and they could have probably murdered this, made it maybe dull, maybe took it too seriously, maybe had some cheesy, crappy overacting. Andrea Martin and Eugene Levy in Cannibal Girls 1973 knew exactly what type of movie they were in, and they owned it, and they dominated, and it's absolutely delightful to watch these two act opposite all the other characters and all the other set designs and all the other weird crap that's going on here. It is absolutely fun watching these two do their thing. And I remember as a kid watching SCTV. And what is SCTV? Well, that's kind of like a Saturday Night Live sort of show, but in Canada. And for the most part, it lasted about 2 seasons. And John Candy was in it, and it was a really cool show. I enjoyed it as a kid. Seeing these two youngsters, seeing Eugene Levy and Andrea Martin in their youth acting, reminded me of SCTV, and all the improv that they did, and all the on-the-spot dialogue that they kind of came up with. You can tell that they're just kind of improvising and kind of making up stuff up as they went along. But it worked. It works so well. You can tell, but it works. And I absolutely loved every minute of this film as those two were chewing up dialogue and dealing with the evil Reverend St. John. And that's a big shout out to Ron Urich, who played Reverend Alex St. John. Him and his Cannibal Girls are, I don't want to say a rip-off, but they borrowed heavily from Let's Go to Dracula's Castle, and here's Dracula with his 3 brides, and he's going to hypnotize us, and we're going to go under his thrall, and it turns out the entire town is in on it as well, under his thrall. It's weird. It makes no sense, but a grindhouse horror movie in the 1970s is not supposed to make sense. But you can clearly tell, or you scratch your head, going, does eating other people give you supernatural, somewhat Dracula powers? And you gotta kind of go, yeah, sure, what the hell. But as a cannibal, he brings up a lot of, vampire lore stuff. Blood is power, blood brings you youth, blood brings you immortality, drinking the blood, eating the flesh makes you not sick, stuff like that. And that's kind of like vampire stuff. So it looks like they kind of made the screenplay to that of visiting Dracula's castle, and there's the 3 brides, and they live forever. And last second they might have said, okay, let's just make them cannibals so we're not so on the nose of this is Dracula's castle sort of thing. And thank goodness for that, because Alex St. John, the Reverend, is absolutely cheeseball goofy, absolutely funny. His improv dialogue is very, very cool, and it's very, very entertaining. There's a spot in the movie where the camera's panning to paintings and old relics and souvenirs that Alex St. John brings up from his family's past, and you can just tell that he's making this stuff up, and Eugene Levy and Andrea Martin are doing their best to kind of relay off that. It's really good improv, because improv is yes and. So that's what improv is. So your partner or your scene partner does something, and then you're supposed to reply back to that scene as yes and. There is no such thing as no in improv, and and that's how it works throughout this entire movie, and it's absolutely delightful. Like any grindhouse horror film in the 1970s, there's a lot of female seduction and boobies and stuff like that, which is stereotypical for this movie of this genre, and it all works out. I think for the most part the nudity is on par, and it makes sense. They're not just nude for the hell of it. It was written that they have to get nude for some of these warship scenes, so it's not too out there, but it is out there. That's what the 1970s grindhouse horror is all about, and even what horror is all about all through the 80s and 90s and 2000s up to this point. So you just gotta deal with that the way it is. I want to go back just real quick to the improv of this movie. It's so heavy and it's so great. There is one scene in particular. Now, I've seen this maybe 3 or 4 times. This is one of those movies that I saw in my youth as a kid. Everyone, was the family cool with it? No, not really, but my uncle would go out and, he would rent this stuff for us, and not knowing that there's blood and gore and boobs in it, we would lie to him and say, oh yeah, this is just an action movie, and it's just Cannibal Girls, and it's supposed to be it's mostly cartoonish. And my uncle would believe us, so he would get the movie and we would watch it, and we'd be like, oh, this is great, oh, awesome. But it's been a long, long time, so I saw it a couple of times in my youth, but then it's been a long, long stretch, a long, long time since I've seen this. So, coming back into this, I absolutely loved the Eugene Levy playing guitar in the hotel scene with Andrea Martin laying on the bed. I rewinded this scene at least 4 or 5 times and was laughing so hard. So they're making out, and Andrea Martin's character asks Eugene Levy to serenade her, to play guitar for her, and Eugene Levy does so. So he plays guitar, and in order to play guitar, he has to have his hands free, obviously. But he's got a cigarette going. He's having a smoke. So, like any of those cool cats you normally see that puts puts the cigarette in between the frame or the neck of the guitar up top, and in between the strings and the neck of the guitar, like any cool guy does. Eugene Levy struggles to get that cigarette wedged in between the string and the neck of the guitar. He can't find a way to do it. So he does the next best thing. There's a bunch of loose, long strings at the neck of the guitar, just hanging around. He sticks the lit cigarette, into one of the loose strings, and he's playing the guitar. It's so funny. I'm trying my best not to laugh as I'm telling you this, but the cigarette's bobbing on this string, and then Andrea Martin starts kind of playing with it and then flopping it around as he's playing guitar. It's such a funny scene. I was dying laughing. My gut hurt. I was laughing so hard. And that's what this movie's all about. It's goofy at its core. It's funny. No one's taking this too lightly. And those who are play the scenes. Ivan Reitman does the best he does such a great job directing and editing it to the three girls that are kind of taking this some of the actresses that are taking it a little too seriously. It edits to where it's not too cheesy or you're not cringy by this actor's taking this too seriously. No, it all works out. And that scene just really defined for me that scene defines what this movie's all about. And it's absolutely wonderful. Eugene Levy and Andrea Martin, they're absolutely awesome actors and actresses throughout the years, the decades, the generations, and them in one of the earliest movies of their careers. This one is awesome. If you're a fan of them, you have to watch this movie as well, because it's fun. It's fun watching them do their thing and have fun with it. The promise is going to be made. I am definitely keeping this under 20 minutes this time. I'm going to nail it. But this is a huge movie to see. So at the end of the day, is this movie, because once again, it's very, very important. Is this movie bootacular? Is this movie spootastic? Or is this movie eerily awesome? Well, I hate to say this, but it's you know, some of you guys might disagree with this, but it's bootacular. Absolutely 100% bootacular. So what'd you think of this movie? I highly suggest you watch it, or if you give it a watch, let me know in the comments below what you thought of this movie. With my research being somewhat lacking and weak, let me know if I missed anything, and leave a like, subscribe if you want. I'm going to do this either way. Doesn't really matter, because I think this is fun and I have fun doing this. And that's about it, guys. We'll see you next video. So we'll spook you later, and we'll scare you next time.